Yo, what is up, everybody? Jay's on here, guys. Welcome back to some more The Mysteries of Rinko Tagawa, Murder on Marine Express. Last time was crazy. We're getting to the bottom of this. I have no idea if this is the last episode. Probably not, or might be close. But we are figuring out who it can lead up to being. Yeah, guys, without further ado, let go.
No, I don't wanna run, no, I won't go away. I just want your love. Promise I'm here to stay. Spark me up a blunt, I just caught me an A. They told me fix the music, but I can't look away.
Hey, Jack can stay with blood. In that moment, we just had eyes for the body of teacher. We obviously were oblivious to the rest of details with such a shocking scene before us, but it was definitely theirs. Our testimony alone has not any value for her, but Miss Marble accepted those suspicions because she had the jacket with her. We are guilty for misleading her on that regard. Don't think that we couldn't know she would act like this. Yeah, but those are the facts. We have to take responsibility for what we did. Also, Tagawa, Larson, where are you hiding? Here they are. They came a little sooner than expected. Listen, we don't have much time, but there is something else I still haven't explained. It's something important. I'll fill you in after talking with Mr. Brown. I guess you understand if I show you this, though. It was inside the pocket of jeans. I'm sure you tied up all the loose ends by now. Renko, no! Don't worry, my resolve is still as strong as where we begin looking into this. I'll be consistent with the outcome, whatever happens. Tagawa! Hello, Mr. Brown. We're sorry for having run away like that. Sit down for a bit, please. We have to talk about the things that's happened here. The time to close this case has finally come. 2 days. Just 2 days were enough for unveiling the worst tragedy we ever lived until then. The beauty of the ocean waters surrounding us while trapped in that submarine train was tinted with horrors of death. But just as New Day arrived at last, so was the moment to learn the truth. Not one, not some, but all of them. Here's your juice. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Oh, shoot. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. It's made from oysters and sailfish. It's just yuck. Just joking, of course. Right, I would like to know before splitting the thing. I beg your pardon. Never mind. I'll let this one pass because you were absolutely right. And then everything was reduced to discarding the things that were impossible and keeping those that remained. That was a very valuable piece of advice. I'm glad I helped you. There's much knowledge in literature. But it looks like everybody's here already. I'll leave you then. Good luck with your closing statement. Yeah, we'll need it. Anything you need, please let me know. Thank you. Why I say it like that? You ready? I'm a little anxious, but I'm ready. We're going to solve the case before the train arrives on land. Right. It's time to close the curtain. Let's go. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Everybody pulling up. Okay, first things first, I want to thank Mr. Brown for letting us organize this meeting despite the circumstances. We're really grateful for your decision on trusting us. I hope whatever you are going to explain justifies this objection. Yes, it will. To those present, I'd like to clarify I'm not a big fan of these kind of detective stagings, where all suspects are gathered and the culprit is pointed out after a long and tiresome explanation. But me and Ashley spent all the trip investigating what happened in this train, and we think you have the right answer to know our findings. If you are here, it's because you are or were related with the case at some point, so it's fair that you learn the truth too. The rest of the students will be informed in due time. Thank you for your curiosity. Alright, now that we finished with the introductions, we'll start with the main event. First, a message of reassurance. There will be no more deaths, no aggressions. The danger is over. Yeah? And how you know that? We were never in danger, actually. Since Mr. Serpent's death, the following events were done with some very target in mind. And none of the remaining people aboard were in danger of becoming a new victim of a mysterious assaulter. You mean these killings were not made at random then? Not in the slightest. The culprit was very clear about who were their targets. I don't get it. Now what's the reason linking all three of the victims? That's what we're about to explain right now. A tragic development we could have averted for sure, though some elements prevented so. Looking at the way things unfolded, I must admit there's no way we can fully know how everything happened. So, what we're going to present is the sum which best fits the data we managed to gather. We ask you to hear until the end, okay? Please, go ahead. Let's start with the story then. I think the best way to understand this case is going over it in reverse order. So let's take Miss Marble's death as our starting point. As you probably know, Astrid and me were the last ones that saw her alive, and those who found her body too. So we have a very solid understanding about the time frame where the murder took place. Just 10 minutes since we left her, until she came back. Putting aside the fact that this is a very narrow margin for daring to kill someone, we made sure that this crime was an impossible one, since there was a witness in the corridor all along. Is that right, Hyphy? Absolutely. Nobody went in nor out after you two. We found Hyphy on the other side of the corridor, and she was still there when we returned. Even though she was a little far, it's clear that she would take notice. If someone else got in to kill Miss Marble, maybe she's the one who did and she was tricking you? No, she didn't. Hyphy had no reason or chance to carry out the rest of the assaults, so she is out from the list of suspects. We can believe in her word. Hold your horses, little mouse. If you say no one got in to murder Miss Marble, then who on earth is the one who killed her? Are you implying that you were already inside when you left? Well, that's pretty close to the actual answer. I'm sure you'll understand right away if you give it a quick thought. But then, are you saying that? I'm afraid that's exactly it. The answer's pretty simple. And nobody aside from us went in or out of the room, and we are obviously not the culprits. The only option left is that she took her life herself. Okay, that makes sense. Cause back like last video, we figured out that she had a crush on a teacher. And then, we was telling her that teacher was actually, trying to touch the kids, or, well, I think he did touch some of them. But yeah, we had told her all that. And then she was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. So, a lot of people that got a broken heart, they will do things they don't like. And her heart that was broken, she really had nothing else to live for. Sad stuff, man. That stuff really does happen to people. But it was suicide. What? That's awful. Poor Miss Marble. A sad incident indeed. She took the very same knife and used to kill Mr. Sherpin and took her own life, putting an end to the painful string of crimes on this train. That leaves us with a very permanent question though. Why did she do that? Right, Marble wouldn't do something like that for no reason. In this case, the reason was a weighty one and had to do directly with the previous assault. Now, let's look over the events of our friend Irene. As you may know, the murderer tried to kill her with a treacherous blow to the head though. They fortunately couldn't, just by inches. She's in a very grave condition. Nurse Joyce told us about the progress is quite discouraging. We'll have to reach land to know if she has any chance to live. Don't cry, Erica. What's with her? She has to be more human than you. A lot. But let's not go off a tangent now. I don't freaking know. You could have spared that remark. The assault siren was perplexing because it took place in a public bathroom. And at night, no less, that was undoubtedly a very odd setting that left us with many questions. Did she stumble upon the killer just by chance? Did she agree to meet them there, which was a weapon used? The only thing we knew was that her body was left there for hours until Astor found her that morning. Are you sure you're not the culprit? You seem to have been in the eye of the storm. Yeah, we get that a lot these last days. We became sort of mystery magnet against our will. I would avoid it if I could. Doesn't look like a very healthy habit. Anyways, as I was saying, this turned into a sea of doubts, which didn't look easy to understand. So, we had to think long and hard to clear up that mystery. But we did it in the end, right? Yeah, it was all about pulling the thread to gradually comb the Hank out. What? Let's think about the weapons, for instance. They used a knife for the other two murders, but this assault was carried out with a blunt object. Taking into account that most probably this wasn't a planned attack, is there anything on this train that can be used as a weapon? Not many options, I guess. My shurikens are out on the list. They are made of cardboard. I know, the vase in our rooms. We just need to find who is missing theirs. Nope, I'm sorry. It's true that the vase could be used to hit Irene, but then it would have broken and we would have found the shards. Also, we could identify the culprit right away if some vase were missing in any room. Ah, I missed the shot. Don't lose heart, we also took a lot to guess the right answer. And the answer is one of the fire extinguishers on the corridor. Huh? It's an object blunt enough to cause a deep injury, and the ones here are small and can be easily handled. We checked all the ones aboard and found one with a small dent and some stains of blood. When the killer tried to erase any trace of their crime, they didn't manage to do it as thoroughly as they believed. But then, we can't know who did it. On the contrary, we know pretty well. The identity of murderer was clear once we answered one of the pending questions. What was Irene doing there in the middle of the night? I know most of you thought that she was the one behind Mr. Sherpin's death back then, but since that was not the case, it would have been very reckless for her to go out of her room that late at night, because I can't fathom why she would expose herself to danger without a weighty reason. Therefore, she didn't go to the restroom on her own accord. But because someone urged her to show up at that place, the killer! Exactly. Now, think a bit about this. The murder happening just some hours before. Would you come out of your room to meet with someone summoning you on some isolated place? Fat chance. I would tell them that we can talk in the morning. Maybe if that person was someone I trust? Exactly. That's the key here. Caution would make us avoid these kind of shady meetings. But if that was a trusty person, then things change. It could be a friend in need of advice. Or maybe someone installing safety like some teacher. No! That can't be right. Are you saying that? Yes. The one of submarine in the bathroom, the red killer, was the very same one who committed the previous murder. That's Miss Marble. Why? That's impossible. She never. It is possible. That's exactly the reason why she killed herself. Drowning in gold for having assaulted an innocent student. Of course, we have evidence for this. Just before coming here, we visited the sick room to look for Irene's phone, and they confirmed that Miss Marble sent her a message. The instructions on me and her to talk about a very urgent matter related to Sherpin's murder. I can't believe my ears. Me neither. I find Marble harming someone unthinkable. That's a red card. Why would she do something like that? Yeah, that's an unsolved mystery which have gone at me all this time. Motive is what moves actions. What gives meaning to this abrupt tragedy we lived inside this train. Motive why Jessica Marble is dead and the one why Iron Baker was critically hurt. That motive is secret concerning several people. Is closely related to the last question we now must face at last. The mystery which answers will finally reveal the whole truth. The question I began and all. Why did Lauren Sharpin die? So far we talked about how Miss Marble's death and Irene's assault took place. However, it's time to tackle the main point, which was the source and the trigger of this whole mess. The day before yesterday, just after lunch, somebody got in Mr. Sharpin's room and stabbed him. Later, Claire, who was right here, found a body when she arrived at the place with the aim of discussing some academic matters which don't matter right now. The important thing is that during this period, Miss Sherpin left the dining car until we found his body. There aren't many clues to work with, even seem to lead to Irene intentionally, which is obviously wrong now. On one hand, we had a crime weapon, the very same knife that Miss Marble used to take her own life yesterday. The knife, as we checked already, belongs to the trained Kotler, and anyone could have kept theirs after lunch. So there's nothing that can help us find its owner. However, the fact that the killer used his knife and not another weapon leads us to think that, just like what happened to Irene, this was not a premeditated murder. This takes us back to the main question, serving as the unifying thread of all the case. If this was not a planned murder, why did the culprit feel the urge to kill a teacher so well respected by students and co-workers? A role model in the academy everyone loves so much. Well, most of you already know about this, but I will say it anyway. Lauren Sharp was a predator who harassed and abused some of his students at St. Joachim and also in other schools. His death was punished for his deeds. Really? Color me impressed. That's men for you. There's no way to trust them. Well, all of us are like that. Not all of you, but all of the women have to live with that same fear. Please, Ms. Brown, spare us with the classic hashtag not all man speech. And we are telling you that your fellow teacher has young girls with empathy for years, girls who have suffered in silence. I'm sorry if your ego took any offense to this, but please understand that the topic here is a very different one. Yeah, of course, I understand. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It won't happen again. You may take this as a serious accusation for a teacher from a elite preparatory school. Even so, I guarantee then on this very train are some of Mr. Sharpin's victims. That can confirm what's and how true this claim is. Though I'm not going to reveal their names out of respect for their privacy, I have nothing to hide. I was one of Sharpin's victims, and I want that everybody learns how he really was. He tried to assault me, and once I defiled him, he spread some nasty rumors about me to ruin my life. And he did. Where it's not for Maddie's support, there's no way I could bear the humiliation I had to suffer all this time. You were a strong girl. You just needed a little help. Thanks for being so brave, Christine. I was a victim of Mr. Sherpin too. Kadia. It all began with some casual meetings, but then he followed me everywhere. It soon became really uneasy. I tried to avoid him, but he always found a way to be alone with me. He made me his pet and told me he would make my life a living hell if I resisted. Kadia, I'm so sorry. Forgive me for not being aware of what you were living through. I'm sorry too, we had no idea. We should have helped you. Thanks, guys. That was not your fault. It's nobody's fault, actually, except for the one doing those things. As you see, Mr. Brown, Mr. Sherpin was occupied with this kind of extracurricular activities for so long, but I don't understand. If he was doing those awful things, why didn't you report to our principal? Didn't you hear Sherpen had a lot of power in the academy? His standing would cast doubts on any accusation against him. While he would have had it so easy to wreck the lives of his students if they tried to spill the beans, but these type of matters are never that easy to deal with anyway. Even when no means no, the defendant is always given more credibility than the victim after the fact. That is a sad reality for many people. Gosh, I'm sorry you had to go through that sort of horrible experience. The thing is that this is a very reasonable motive to explain why Sherpen was murdered. It wouldn't be absurd, not in the slightest, to think that one of his victims decided to take the law into her own hands and took revenge in the most gruesome way. In that case, the list of suspects shortens quite a bit. But it wasn't me. Are you real? I told you that. Please let me finish my statement. The list is currently shorter now, but it's not complete. It's true that both of you in particular fit very well to the role of the killer, but I know full well that you had nothing to do with the murder. However, Christine proved a valuable piece of data to understand the chain of events. During the first steps of our research, she told us that a first year went to Sherpen's room just before he was found dead. Christine couldn't identify the girl, but her red jacket exposed her as a freshman. At the time, all the clues seemed to lead to the same answer, that the girl was Irene Baker. But there was no way it was her. Irene stayed in our room. She didn't get to visit teacher's room. That's what she said. Yet there's no witness that can prove that. Actually, I find it hard to think of any other options beside Irene. All evidence points towards her as a girl Christine saw. And I'll say more, Christine is not the only one who did. Huh? Sharpen made an appointment to meet Irene in his room with the excuse of talking about some of the activities their classes is going to make during and after the trip. Though I'm pretty sure this plan was to assault her once they were alone. He absolutely did not expect they would get a surprise guest. Just as he jumped into action, someone went in the cabin to kill her. Of course, the scene was absolutely awkward and hard to explain. The killer let Irene go, and they stayed with Sharpen alone. You know how that ended. Some minutes after leaving, Claire found a body and chaos began spreading inside the train. And now that I have explained almost all the facts, I suppose there's no need to reveal who is this mystery person I was talking about. It's Miss Marble, right? I'm afraid so. Jessica Marble's the one who murdered Lawrence Sharpen. Such a sad story. I couldn't never imagine things went like that. As a matter of fact, it's even worse. At the time, Miss Marble didn't even know that her workmate was a real degenerate. When she came in, she understood the scene the other way around. That is that Irene was the one jumping over Sharpen. Just like several of the students at St. Joe's Shop, she believed that the rumor was that Irene was in love with him, and the situation was baffling enough to make her think to give that some credibility. Therefore, Miss Marble threw her out of the room. It wasn't to protect her, but just to get her away from him. And then when they were alone, she killed him out of jealousy, out of spite. She was in love with Sharpen and felt that he betrayed that love. So she thought that if he couldn't be hers, then he would be nobody's. But that makes no sense. If she took her anger out on teacher, then why did she attack Baker? And why didn't Baker say anything about everything that happened so fast? It's possible that Irene was still trying to take in what she faced in there. And I think carefully about how to explain it. Hers was a thorny position, certainly. Irene was one of the last people who saw Sharpen alive, and she also has a reason to kill him. So, anybody would think that she was the culprit. Well, no need to say that's exactly what happened. On the other hand, it may be that even knowing that Miss Marble was a murderer, Irene felt a strong coordination before the fact that she was also the one who saved her and therefore owned her silence. It's clear that this trust was not mutual, however. Miss Marble was still bitter for what she saw. A feeling boosted by a need to get rid of an annoying witness that could give her away at any minute. That's why she sent that message to her phone to meet with Irene and talk about how they would confront the situation. Marble decided anyway. Irene entitled a big danger to her, and she had no intention of forgiving what she did to Sharpen. So Marble was determined to kill her too. Now you know the whole story. That's when beginnings of mysterious death became fear with the second victim. The possibility of serial murder with the third, but then nothing was at random. There's reason linking all three of the cases. Miss Marble wanted to redeem herself, paying with her own life. And now that the circle is closed, there won't be any more tragedies. Jessica, thank you for gathering us to explain the facts. Just as you said, this was a tragic episode, but it's all over now. I hope things come back to normal when we arrive to land. Truly a clarifying talk. Good job, Toggle. You can get back to your rooms. I reached the rest of the girls to report that everything is okay now. Just one more thing. You may have forgotten by now. Before starting my speech, I told you that we weren't completely know how things truly unfolded. What I explained right now was the most plausible theory, but we have with us one last piece of evidence that we shall inspect in detail. It's something that we found in Mr. Sherpin's cabin. We want to discuss his meeting with Mr. Brown, so we're going to talk with him a little more. While we keep the evidence safe in our room, that's all. This is all I have to say. It was a painful event, but we can be back to normal now. Let's pray so that Irene can stay alive until we get the land so she can receive proper medical assistance. Thank you all for your attention. You did so well, Renko. Thanks. That was harder than I expected. Tagawa, thank you for struggling so hard on figuring out what happened. Most Jessica were good fellows, but as I understand, that everybody can have a dark side on them. I'm truly sorry that they made you live such an ordeal. I'm your homeroom teacher, but I wasn't able to help you through this at all. Hope you can forgive me. Don't worry, we know you were occupied trying to keep order inside the train. It's us who will have to thank you for letting us stage this dumb performance. As for that piece of evidence you said, yeah, that will have to wait a little more since we have to do something important before. We can talk calmly about it later. You coming, Astrid? Yes! They are good girls. Hey, girls. Hey, what a surprise. Sorry to be in your room. I just wanted to give my thanks for your efforts on unrevealing the mystery. I let myself lose heart for all that happened and couldn't help you at all. You worked so hard investigating who did that to poor Irene. I feel so useless. Don't say that. These were difficult days for everyone who understand. We understand you weren't feeling well. It's a shame things end up like this. Miss Marble doing something like that. I'll never see it coming. I wish Irene lasted us through this one. Yeah, we'll have to wait a little to know once we arrive to land. Well, I'll leave you alone now. See you later. And sorry for intruding. Don't worry, we expected to find you here, actually. Did you find what you were looking for? Huh? What do you mean? Come, sit down here. Uh-oh! Uh-oh! We got her, boys. Oh my god, Renko is so smart. So basically what she did is she said all the details, like she was like, oh, we got a last piece of evidence in the room that could basically like tell like who actually probably did it. Could have been a teacher, sure, but there might have been somebody else to help or whatever. So he was like, oh yeah, the evidence is in the room. You know, we'll talk about this later with homeboy. And then we find her here. Nobody else is in the room. Everybody going outside chilling, but she's here because she's probably trying to get rid of the evidence. So now we're about to go talk to her. This joint is good, bro. This series is underrated, bro. It's better if you spare the acting. There's no need to you continue your little charade. It was clear that we'll catch you here searching while we were out, since you were the one who killed Mr. Sherpin. Oh my god! Yes, sir. I don't get it. I have nothing to do with teacher's death. You just explained that Miss Marble is the actual killer. Yeah. Look, that was just a calming down the others with a possible account. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that you believed all that so easily. Didn't you give it a thought? You just have to go over a story to find that it has more holes than Swiss cheese. I guess I should be happy that it worked so well. You say that Miss Marble is not the culprit then? With respect to those last two incidents, it was undoubtedly her work. She was the one who assaulted Irene and then killed herself because she felt guilty. But the murder of Mr. Sherpin is a case apart. I told you that Miss Marble bursted into the room just as he was about to assault Irene, and then she kicked our friend out and killed teacher out of jealousy. But how can she do that? She supposedly stabbed him in that moment, blinded by rage. In that case, it makes no sense that she had a knife with her. It had to be something clearly premeditated. But also, a temper like hers, I find it hard to think that she wanted to take Irene out herself, to give her a good scolding for what she was supposedly doing. Marble had all the time in the train to make amends with Sherpin. Even if she felt betrayed, she wouldn't ever kill him out of spite. I'm sure those who knew her had some doubt about that part. Then you say it was me who killed him? But that doesn't make sense either. I had no reason to do so. I wasn't one of his victims. I didn't even know that he was harassing students till you told us. Well, you know, we are friends, and as a friend, I'll say it again. There's no need for you to keep pretending. We know it all. I don't know what you're talking about. Astrid, bring that, please. Yes. Last night, I had a reservation. I thought hard, really hard, until I finally understood some things. The first one was that we were looking at the case the wrong way. Up until then, I was sure that everything was the work of a single culprit. Even Astrid pointed to the possibility that maybe it wasn't like that. I rejected the idea right away. After all, what were the chances that two murderers gathered at the same place to kill different people? Unless the second one came up as an after effect of what the first one did. Having missed that held us up tremendously with the investigation. The second thing I learned was that there was something missing on Sherpin's cabin. An item that was there when we first found his body, and that was not when we came back. I guess you had a hunch where you heard me say that we still had one more piece of evidence to check. That's why you came here while we were still out, to snatch it and make the only incriminatory clue disappear. It's this jacket. A jacket with Sherpin's blood on it. But that one is not mine. I'm wearing my own jacket. We all have spare clothes to use. We just have to check your baggage to find if you like a jacket or not. But even if that weren't proof enough, we have further evidence pointing you as a culprit. Let me tell you again, now for real. The events that took place 2 days ago in Mr. Sherpin's room. That afternoon you went there with Irene was taking a shower. Your excuse was that you wanted to save some seats for us for the panel at 3 p.m. But nobody actually saw you there, at least not until later. You came in and killed Sherpin and had to plan in advance. You took the knife during lunch when Mr. Brown tossed the cart, taking one from the table would stand out, but nobody would miss one of those that fell on the floor. Unfortunately, you didn't expect to get your jacket dirty with Sherpin's blood, so you left it there hoping that no one find its owner. Then you disposed of the weapon on a bin in a closet restroom onto your cabin. Is that correct? Renko, I told you. I had nothing to do with that. I didn't even have a motive to kill him. Last night, we talked with Madeline and Christine. We asked them about the girl Sherpin had harassed so far. Among them was Margaret Hastling. She was your older sister, right? She took her own life 2 years ago, just before Sherpin was transferred to St. Joachim. Did you kill him because of this? You wish to take revenge since he led your sister to commit suicide? Yes, that's right. Sherpin assaulted her and then spread some horrible rumors when he got bored of her being his toy. Mage couldn't go out without feeling a judgmental glance of everyone around her. That pleasure she had to endure ended breaking her inside. Oh my gosh. That pressure, my bad guys. Every night she cried with anger and sourness, knowing she had to be silent about the harm that bastard did to her family and herself. In the end, Mage couldn't endure anymore and took her own life. She told me everything before her suicide. By then, Sherpin was already in another school, trying to get away from any accusation against him. Although he always made sure that he had the silence of his victims. I'm sorry that Mark had to live through that sort of terrible experience, and your family too. But that's just a story of the past. It doesn't prove anything. That jacket could be from anyone. Maybe it's Caius. She also had a more direct and reasonable motive to kill him. Maybe it's from some other freshman you don't know at all. If this was a premeditated murder, there's a chance the culprit was even some other student that's not from my class. Maybe she got one of those red jackets to mislead the police. You're wrong with me, I didn't do anything. Yesterday we received some useful pieces of advice. When you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. And that's what we did. Once we confirmed out the rest of the involved girls had no chance to do the murder, what remains is that as hard as sadism it may be, you were the one we were looking for. I'll say it once more, lying is useless. The jacket can only be yours. No, it's not! How can you be so sure? Why are you so determined to accuse me? Why? Lena, I know it was you, and only you. Because we found this inside the pocket. Oh, shoot, the music turned off. It's about to get good. This is the pen Astrid gave you when we got on the train. I gave you one of Blue Mama's because you were kind and nice like her. You all had a different one. I told you, we know everything. There's no need to keep lying. You have no idea. You know nothing at all. You don't know what I had to go through. You don't know what I did. You don't know why I did it. You don't know anything! Lena! I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want because of me. Irene, Miss Marble. It's fine. Cry all you need. You've been suffering for a long time. You've been enduring the anxiety of killing a person for days now. And on top of that, you have to see how your best friend got hurt. You must be worn out. Lena, please forgive me. It's all my fault. None of this would have happened if I didn't kill Sherpin. But I wasn't taking revenge. I know. It was to protect Irene, right? Yes. That morning, just before we arrived, you heard Sherpin make an appointment with Irene to talk about the activities in her class, but you knew what he was scheming. That's why you went earlier to face him and discourage him. I knocked on the door and he was surprised at finding that it was not Irene. He invited me in. I didn't lose any time. I told him who I was and how much I hated him. I wasn't going to let him do the same thing to my friend that he did to my sister, but his answer froze me in horror. He said that he remembered Mage, that he had a hell of a time with her, and that if I wanted him to leave Irene alone, then I could be her replacement. He moved closer and that's when I showed the knife. I threatened him with attacking if he tried something. He laughed and told me to be careful, that he would be gentle with me, but then he jumped on me. When I was aware of what happened, it was too late already. Terrified, I leaned forward and stabbed him. He died almost immediately. His blood went everywhere over my jacket. I was scared. I left him over the bed, and then I knew I had to flee right away. I took the knife and noticed that the blood would stand out, so I dropped the jacket and ran towards the restroom to dispose of the knife. The rest is just as you said. But then it wasn't on purpose. It was him who assaulted you. That's self-defense. No, it's not that easy. She's the one who brought the knife and had a hostile attitude with him. Not to mention she had reasons to kill him. You'll have to study this case closely to decide how gentle she is. Then you're going to turn me in? That's without a doubt the hardest question I ever had to face in my life. And I thought a lot about it already. I promise I hardly got any sleep thinking about this dilemma. You are my friend. I understand the circumstances you were in. And also that you didn't want any of the following tragedies. But at the same time, I've always been following a mentor to have a clear coincidence. Like, you probably are bored with it by now. Every act has a consequence. Anytime you do right or wrong, your acts always have an impact on other people. And the right thing is to take responsibility for those after effects. You killed a person, that means you have to take responsibility for it, whatever the outcome. Yeah, I guess you're right. This had to end like this. But you don't have to be alone on this. It will turn in with you. What? Renko forgot to explain something important. I didn't forget. I was waiting for the right time. What do you mean? Look, we also killed someone. I don't understand. When we talked with Miss Marble about who could have murdered Mr. Sherpin, we led her to Irene. She was fast in suspecting her what she found in the jacket. But even so, that was just pure speculation. It was us who convinced her that Irene was the one who visited Mr. Sherpin. In the end, she was so sure about it that she sent a message to meet her in a bad restaurant that night and striked her sneakily. And we told her later that Irene had nothing to do with his death. Then she understood how bad it was her mistake, and she decided to commit suicide. So what you said before, I told you to ignore that. It was all a fake story to make you lower your guard. The thing is, it was us who pushed Miss Marble to act like that. Indirectly, our words led to her try murdering someone and then kill herself later. In that regard, we have to take responsibility too. But you can't take blame for that. There's no way that you can know for she would act like that. Perhaps, but intentionally or not, the fact is that our reckless attempt of investigating was the one that caused this ending. Had we stopped playing stealth, had we let things flow naturally, none of these events would have taken place. Our acts had their own consequences, and I want to take responsibility for them. When I explained to Asher last night, she agreed with me. Come on, we'll talk with Mr. Brown. Don't worry, we'll be with you no matter what. Thank you. We went to talk to Mr. Brown after that. We related him the true story that took place about the submarine train, Lena's confirmation with Sherpin, our unfortunate mistake, Miss Marble's misunderstanding. With a grave but calm face, he listened to our confession just minutes before the train arrived to land after 2 days of madness. Once we were out, the police began their own investigation. Though they were nothing to do anymore by then, despite our honest wit to redeem ourselves, Ash and me were forgiven for any type of responsibilities. Just the effects from our deeds were purely accidental. Even when we took direct part in the case, so we couldn't be accounted guilty for any of that. As for Lena, she was sent back to USA immediately to be judicially custody. The case is still open, but as far as we know, the context of the murder would be taken as a, I'm gonna just say, crazy circumstance in a trial. There was a big commotion among the students with the facts were finally disclosed. But fortunately, the relief of knowing that there was no more risk and excitement of visiting a new place for them was enough so they can enjoy the rest of the trip. A trip that we'll definitely remember for the rest of our lives. As for Irene, it seems the ladies found the truth they were looking for. I'm glad that, like this train, they also reached their destination. Remember, there are lots of mysteries in this world. You were the one to figure them out. Grown-ups work to protect us and make a better future for us. But sometimes they don't act as they should. It's our duty to learn about their mistakes and keep struggling to fix what they messed up. That'll be our challenge when we get in our society. That's where our studies are so important. Still a good party every now and then. Never does anyone any harm. What? I'm not as stiff as everybody thinks. Maybe I should loosen up a bit. I'll take a note for that in the future. Looking at those two solving the case was truly inspirational. I'll work hard to overcome my block and win any match from now on. But even if I keep losing, I won't fall apart. When things go sudden, you have to take a deep breath and preserve. Game, set, match. This maiden boys was an ugly disaster. There's no way that can recover from this. Who was going to travel a train where people were murdered in? Unless that's it, the submarine train of death. A thrilling experience underseas. Solve mystery while trapped in this underwater trip. We'll have to work a bit on that catchphrase. But let's leave that to marketing. We're not finished yet. I'm going to save this project. I regret what I did to Irene a lot. Hurting other people is never the answer for anything. I learned from my mistakes. I'll never do that again. But now I'll work hard to follow their example and become a model person. I'll be proud for my actions. I don't want to regret what I did anymore. Also, that gorgeous senior left quite an impression on me. I think I have to tell her to learn from her too. I'm glad that we can use this incident to make a stronger bond. From now on, we'll care for each other more. I won't let you live something like that ever again, Katya. Thank you. I swear I'll be by your side too whenever you need. I'll support you whatever happens. We'll also be together. That's why we are the most fabulous. I have to give my thanks to the little mouse and her friend. When Sherpin died, I thought that our mission was over for good. But now I see that finishing what we began is more necessary than ever. Reporting abuse to that bastard will help to raise awareness of the threats most women are exposed just for being female. We'll look that way more. It's time to face that problem, and I want to be at the forefront. This case revisited my interest on murder mysteries. Maybe I should join the mystery club of St. Joachim. I still have to train a lot as a ninja though. The Crimson Moon will shine brighter next time. Thank you for traveling with us in our Marine Express. Please come back to enjoy any, again, of the underwater views as you have the chance. But next time, please try to keep a more peaceful journey. We'll like our passengers alive to take pleasure in the beauty of the ocean waters. I'm sad I couldn't be up as the role as a teacher. I have to pull my socks up to help my students when they needed it. Even so, I'm happy to know that I could trust in them. They are some fine ladies. Oh, look what I've done. Irene! Hello, nice to see you. How you feeling? I'm feeling better, thank you. Doctor said that I will be discharged soon. Fantastic, you look pretty bad when they took you off the train. And I'm fine, thanks to you. Should I receive first aid a little later? Maybe we couldn't be talking like this right now. I'm so glad I found you in time. I can't believe your love for restrooms was useful for once. Don't say it like that. Astrid was making the craziest face when I got there. She was crying, and Ocean was such a funny grimace like this. Stop it. There's no way to get bored with you two around. I'm so happy to see you smiling again. We were so worried about you. That was a pretty intense trip, but now that it's all coming to an end, I hope everything can come back to normal again. Tell me, do you know anything about Lena? There's not a sentence yet. It seems they are considering a couple of years in a juvenile detention center. It could have been worse, but this case raffled some feathers and they took in consideration her circumstances. Also, Maddie and Christine presented a report about Sherpin so that all the truth is known and that info will be taken into account for the final trial. I hope it turns out well. Will you join me to see her when I leave the hospital? Of course, we'll go together. Thank you. I'm sorry Alina had to carry such a heavy weight on her shoulders. She just tried to save me, and even so, she had to keep suffering. Life is so twisted sometimes, but don't worry. I'm sure things won't go as bad as they seem in the end. I hope so. I think it's time to go. We'll come again before you starts. Take some rest and get well as soon as possible, okay? Sure, thanks for coming. Love you, girls. See you soon. What a strange feeling. We lived 3 days of nightmares in an underwater train, and now it's like nothing happened at all. It's hard to believe we went through that for real. Now that we solved our first case, maybe it's time for us to become fully fledged detectives for real. We'll crack mysteries and find murderers with flashy destructions. The Blooming Girls will find the answers for any puzzle. I'd rather have murdered people for fiction, thank you. Oh, I think she said rather leave it. My bad. But you're free to keep having your wild delusion if you want. Don't mind me. Come on, don't be a party pooper. I need you to be my trustworthy sidekick. Why should I be the sidekick here? It's me who solved the case. Yeah, but I just pointed all the key points already. It's just that you never really pay attention to my wits. It's clear that I'm more Zerma than you. Urgh. And now you're getting cheeky. You were an absolute pain. Look, some more people gathered there. Maybe it's some type of incident. Will this be our next case already? Let's go find out. Hey, wait, don't run so fast. That darn greedy guts with long legs. Wait for me. This game is pretty cool, man. I ain't gonna lie. Wow. Can't believe we beat it, though. What a game. Man, listen, bruh. I hope you guys really enjoyed this series. If you did, tell me why in the comments below. Maybe you don't like mysteries. But wow, what a turn. But yeah, man. This is Jason. I love y'all. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.